show that it's 6:30. So let's call the meeting to order for the Public Safety Services Delivery Working Group. It is November 17th. Can you please call the roll?
Chair Allen? Yes. Councilor One? Mayor Ripma?
Yes.
Commissioner Rizzo?
Here.
Commissioner Harrington?
Here.
Commissioner Stephenson?
Here.
Commissioner Allen?
Here.
All right, all present.
Thank you. And is there any public comment? See that Paul's there, but that's the only person I see. All right, no public comment. We'll go to the minutes. 3.1 minutes for September 22nd, 2025. Did you get a chance to look that over? Is there any changes to the minutes?
I don't know how much detail you want in it, but there's nothing really wrong with it.
If you're not looking for detail.
You're not looking for detail, yes.
We need to try the minute
I
taker.
move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Okay, and those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Right, passes. All right, rolling along, number 4, review proposed IGA extension with Gresham for fire and emergency services. Mike.
At the last meeting, we shared with you the IGA that was being proposed by the city of Gresham. We had two concerns. One was the initial 10% that they were trying to charge us on the first year. And the other was that we wanted a way to get out of the contract if we needed to leave early for any kind of purpose. So we sent those requests over to Gresham and they accommodated them and then sent back this version here. So this version's set to go before the city council tomorrow night. It has 7.3% escalators every year, which has been on par with where they've been over the past 5 to 10 years. It's kind of buys us some time while we work through the district options that we're going to start studying. I don't know if you want me to jump into that because that's agenda item 5. You want me to go into what our next steps are with our task force and everything.
Does anybody mind doing that?
So we'll combine 4 and 5.
Combine 4?
So our fire district task force has been formed. We had our first meeting last month. Part of that meeting was kind of laying out the framework for how expenses are divvied up and with the time frame of meetings are going to be. We're going to try to meet, I think it was once a month. So next month it is on December 10th at 5 p.m. And that was a Wednesday, but then in January we're going to Thursday. So I think it's shooting for that second week of every month, that Thursday. So, and again at that 5 to 7 window is what we're aiming for. Like I said, there wasn't much that came out of the first meeting other than just setting the groundwork on what we're trying to look for. Some of the comments that were raised by different parties were what kind of district we're looking for, whether it's going to be a district like Gresham Fire District, if it's going to be Clackamas Fire District, if it's going to be a new district, it's going to be District 10. What kind of service model might fit best? Is it a fire only, or is it EMS and fire? Is it a separate venue or combined? Some of the things that we mentioned were models that Salem Kaiser has implemented, or Eugene Springfield, or Clackamas, or Baltimore Valley, and other agencies, Hillsborough and others. Our goal is to get about 8.5 or 8 1/3 fire stations under that $40 million cap. So That's what we're going to look in and commission a study to kind of look at what models will work best for us. And then hopefully, I think they're talking about using Tiberius Solutions, who has done most of the computing so far when it comes to tax rolls, total assessed values, and what kind of generation would occur with a fire district or taxing district. So that was kind of where we were at, looking into that. We looked at some of the other costs. Our current rate that we're paying in Troutdale right now is kind of like a subsidized rate of about $1.56 per thousand. That's consistent with the previous agreement that dates back. If we went to the rate of even Fire District 10 at the $2.85 per thousand, that's a substantial increase over where we're at today for most residents in Troutdale. So something to be cognizant of as we move down this track. But I think it's a significant increase for everybody, whether it's us, Wood Village, Fairview, or Gresham. So it's about the extent of where we're at so far. We don't really have much beyond that.
So what went into these, did you say 7 to 8 fire stations? What goes into that thought?
So right now we're operating 6 fire stations in the Gresham model currently, and those 6 stations are costing us about $40 million. And so there's something going on with the numbers that isn't computing, because when we looked at the numbers for Clackamas Fire District 1 and other fire districts, we find that under the same number, like the 35 to 40 million, you should be able to operate about 8 1/3 fire stations for the same price.
Okay, so it's cost-based.
But it's also service. Right now, our response times in this area aren't that bad, about 11 minutes, which isn't ideal. Probably your ideal, the kind of standard that everyone should be shooting for is in that 3 to 6 minute window. We're at about 11 to 15. Some places are more like 11 to 20. It just depends on where you're at. There's like a big service gap window over between Troutdale and Fairview, like the Wood Village area, and north of I-84 for us, which is important mostly for EMS, and I think we probably have enough coverage for fire service, but EMS service.
Our industrial area, basically.
It's like a little, service desert, if you will. And then there's another service desert, if you will, that's down in the south end of Gresham. And I can't remember the exact area that it is, but they have, in their presentation that they presented to their city council last month, you can see where those service gaps are.
And that might actually get worse, right? Because that's where the population is expanding into.
Yes, exactly. And so those are, except I think over here, I think you have more business and industrial growth in those areas, but you really have less service. So the idea would be, what they're talking about is a temporary or substation put in somewhere near the Wood Village hub, which should allow for those service windows to get cut down significantly. So that's what they're talking about up here. And even under this current IGA that you have before you, Gresham Fire is talking about potentially stationing a med or temporary service location there with like a trailer and a potential EMS service unit there. So that was some of the discussions. Councilor One, Mayor Rittman, did I miss anything that you guys are?
Well, yes, I'll say the this extension of the IGA, which is on the city council agenda for tomorrow. I checked with the mayors of Fairview and Village just as a reality check, and they are planning to move forward with it also. We all decided that will give Gresham, I mean, up till now, really, the three cities, we're still, at least nominally, targeting contracting with Clackamas District 1, but keeping our options open. We decided to go with this because of Gresham's obviously change of heart in at least considering a fire district. We think they're going to have to consider a fire district. So all three cities are going to go ahead and sign this IGA. I think Wood Village and Troutdale do it tomorrow, and Fairview, whenever they have the next meeting. But we decided we'd go with that. It gives us some breathing room. It's also Gresham's being reasonable. And we think, at least I'll just speak for myself, that this financial study that the task force ordered will analyze different delivery models and show the best way to go. It could come out different ways, but a fire district, we still, at least I still think, is the way long-term we're going to have to go. But this financial analysis is important, and it was good that the task force authorized it and it's studying the right things. So I think there's reason to hope it will help Gresham come to a decision too. I mean, we haven't finally decided ourselves. So I don't know, Jeffrey, anything else?
Yeah, I think it was encouraging that the four cities, including Gresham, were basically all on the same page that we need to look at the whole. And even like kind of sparked something in me, like looking at how does that delivery model work? What does it look like? What are we going to include in it? Is there different models out there that we can all look at and, in my mind, like pull the best things that you want from each fire district or fire service that operate, that work well, and is the most, we've talked with it, is the most cost effective and makes the most sense for the district that we want to either create or join with or whatever. And so, yeah, I was just really encouraged. It was a good first meeting. Again, we just set ground rules, and it seemed like we continually talk about Gresham, but we were all on the same page. It just came out. We were able to accomplish what I think we needed to in that first meeting, and so definitely a lot more information and discussion moving forward on how that looks. But I think it was good, a good start.
The study itself hasn't been fully commissioned yet, but the concept was circulating around about how to do the study. So I believe Eric at Gresham said that they were going to try to pull a sample scope of work for the study and try to bring it to us in December. So I think that's kind of where we're at. And then hopefully we'll have a scope of work for that study come forth in December that then that task force can review and everyone can provide their input on what specifics they want to see out of that study. And then hopefully have some more information for you as that comes. But is there anything else? I think
So we did a lot of like ground rules and just kind of talked about how we're going to operate. So.
Troutdale shares like 20%. Gresham's taking
The cost of the study.
yeah 50. So Gresham was taking 50 plus admin and publishing. Troutdale's 20. Fairview and Wood Village is 10. Gresham Fire District 10 5. And the
IAFF.
they're taking the other 5.
And it consists of a mayor, city manager, and then a city council, and that's from every city.
All four cities, yeah.
I'm sure this probably got asked, but in, like on page 2 as an example, talks about the level of service being the same as what's been provided. What does that mean?
I think we asked something.
I asked the same question.
And what was the answer?
That wasn't exactly what I wanted to hear. Basically what you're getting now.
I mean, but if the population's increasing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. There's going to be more traffic. The response times are going to be slower. So it won't be the same as what we're getting.
I guess I would say, like, I asked him the same question, and the answer was, it is what it is, sort of to a certain degree. But I will say that I know the city of Gresham asked the firefighters what the feasibility of setting up another station, like we were talking about in between Wood Village, Fairview area, to help better serve that area and the area north of of 84. And so I was encouraged by that. There was a little more talk about setting up another station, kind of like a mobile home station, to meet those demands, but it didn't really ever sound like, hey, we're for sure going to do this. It just was talked about, which was more than I've ever heard before.
Which is great, because this is different, because the last thing we saw was 160 million, and none of it in this area at all.
Yeah, I think Councilor One and the mayor from Wood Village had both brought that up. I think even Fairview Councilor and Mayor brought it up too, about maintaining that service level, and how this agreement was done back in 2015, and our response times have decreased since then. So, because population, of course, and being able to get to different locations has increased. So that's when I think the discussion about setting up a temporary unit over off of 248th and Halsey.
Yeah, something, I can't remember exactly. They said Wood Village said they have
Yeah, I can't remember.
like a warehouse or something to that effect.
I think it's down by Camping World or someplace, isn't it?
They were saying it was like a corner.
Off of Sandy?
It's off Halsey.
It's off Halsey.
Oh, it's off Halsey.
Yeah, it's
Somewhere over
right
there.
over, like it's right over here at the main one that goes across the highway. Exit 16, like I think if you got off on exit 16 and went straight up, and they're at the corner of Halsey, and isn't that 248?
It's 240.
238th.
238.
At that point.
I think that's where they were talking about, because then their response times, and I can't remember the exact number, but Chief Menard was saying something like there's like 1,000 calls out there, and so if they had a temporary unit there and just had like an EMS or
He said right now that he could pull a unit from
7-1.
somewhere else and station it there, and they could go today if like they had the space and it was up and running. So he was not concerned like they needed to add people and stuff. He said he could pull that over, and I don't want to say it would be a dumbed down unit. That's probably the bad wording, but it would be, it wouldn't be like the full fledged whatever they have there. It would be able to pull it over and put it there. They could get that going today without any moving around of anything. But you're looking for like a black and white answer, and I wanted kind of the same thing, and I didn't really get it. So it's kind of, to me, it sounded like it was one of those up in the
You
air.
can't do it. There's no way to do it. Level of service is always squishy.
Okay, so let me throw another one at you. Okay, so looking at the averages, right, the national, I'm not trying to be picky here, I'm trying to find some low-hanging fruit. But you look at the national averages, and the time from the call gets into the station till the time they're leaving is 60 seconds for EMS and 80 seconds for fire. And Gresham's is 2-minute average, period. So if I broke this down nationally, our calls are like about 76% EMS and the balance is fire. So I rounded down and I said, okay, if 70% are EMS and 30% are fire, that national average for calls would be 66 seconds. And we're at 120 seconds.
I think it's actually even longer, and one of the things they pointed out has to do with BOAC, and like, it's almost 3 minutes.
No. BOAC's like 3 minutes, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm saying from the time you get it from BOAC, from the time, you're brushing your teeth or jumping into the fire truck or whatever you're doing, that's 2 minutes. And I'm just wondering how we get that down to where others are. And I don't know how they do it, now we don't do it.
I do want to just, based on what you said, like some of these like 10-minute numbers, 8-minute, 10-minute, 10 to 15 minutes includes that BOAC time. And so one of the things they were kind of mentioning is that we could do some, if there was work to be done on that side, it would significantly reduce their ability to get places in a more reasonable time.
Right.
But I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, weren't they saying that their response time was was averaging about 5 minutes, 5 to 6
5 to
minutes?
8 minutes, something like
Yeah,
that.
but then the BOAC time was averaging 3 to 5 minutes.
Right.
So
And
then,
the turnout time's 2 minutes.
right, and then so you
It
add
just
them all
looked like the
together.
turnout time was kind of an easy one.
I didn't see their turnout time. I couldn't speak to that. I could definitely talk to Kevin Larson, and ask him what their what that looks like, and to have a little more background on it.
Yeah, their turnout
Yeah,
time.
question.
Are they looking at BOAC at all? Because,
Okay,
people can sit on that phone. I know I've sat on that phone.
turnout
at
time,
school.
60 seconds for EMS,
A lot longer
80
than
seconds
it
for
should.
fire.
So supposedly, BOAC, at the last BOAC meeting,
This is
last month, BOAC said that they've implemented measures to improve their response time, and that their response times have been cut in half. That's what they said at the last BOAC meeting. And when I spoke to Lieutenant Kramer over at Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, he was also saying that there's actually getting more response, and someone's picking up the phone and responding faster than they were before. So whatever they've done, it seems to have cut into that equation a little bit, but I haven't tested it myself. So.
Oh dear, I'll be interested.
If you look at what was going on, right, they had an operator shortage, right? And then they started recovering from that, and then they had a service level increase. And so they're chasing it.
Last time he came to our
Well, we all would.
council meeting, he said that they were actually finally overstaffed for the first time ever. And
BOAC?
yeah, and that was this last summer.
I
So
think
I don't know,
activity levels
there's a lot of training involved, et cetera, et cetera. I think from these numbers that we're looking at, they're still using that they're identifying the time to actually get the call in is still long. And I think that regardless, we still have these service gaps. They had a kind of a nice map, a heat map of, all these areas, and the one heat that's cold is out here, Fairview, north of 84, the village, and then over in that south Gresham area where I think it's a little farther south, where they've done a ton of building at, probably showing the same things. And so that was, between that and what the study hopefully is just looking at all these different service models and how they respond, and just a lot, because like you just said, if you have 70 to 80% of your calls are EMS, that really should be serviced by not a fire coming to your house to, so it should be a smaller vehicle that they can dispatch to those things. And they actually, did talk about that they know that, they just don't have, they don't have the resources to do that, but that would help offload. And we all know that their Gresham Fire's call numbers have exponentially increased over the last, 20 years, and they haven't increased their staffing.
Yeah, so if you look at, as was mentioned earlier, where we have service deficit right now, and then you look at where we're likely to have increased activity needing service, you're looking at like 238th and Stark area, you're looking at Cherry Park and 257th and Gresham South are going to have increasing demand on need, or they're going to have a deteriorating situation. But I think the whole reason that we're doing this whole negotiation is because it's kind of we're not making it, we know we're not making it. We can't really fit this into our budgets. We can't afford what we need to be doing, so how do we answer these questions? Isn't that what the study's all about? How we answer our local and regional problems?
It is, and it's also about what we can afford.
Right.
What can we actually afford for that price point of $35 to $40 million, all four of us together?
Here's what we need, here's what we have, here's what we really should be doing.
Yeah,
And that's what this whole thing is about, right?
here's our gold standard up here that we all want to shoot for. And then here's what we can actually do with $40 million between all.
To Tanny's point, is there anything we can do in there while we're doing this negotiation to make some improvement on where we expect the stresses to be? Is there, or is that like, that's just going to be very difficult when we're trying to answer the overall question?
Yeah, I think when we're faced with a monetary shortage, and it seems like it's a monetary shortage from everyone, us, Fairview, Wood Village, and Gresham, then the concept and idea of expanding services then becomes a big question mark on the capabilities. But it did seem like Chief Menard had mentioned that they could probably pop up low service or temporary service, minimal staff service site that could answer 75% of the calls and cut the response time from that location for minimal costs.
Maybe it was more of like a timed, like, hey, here's your heavy call time, and so we're gonna staff that these hours to help offload or something. But I think what you're like saying is more like,
what we can do while we're trying to fix the overall model.
Yeah, kind of like as an interim.
I want to say there was talk about trying to vaguely address my question, which was the same as Tanny's, of, hey, this is the same service level, but it seems like our same service level has been, in a sense, decreasing, kind of going down, right? So we don't, if we're signing something that says we're going to maintain this certain service level. So there was talk of trying to address that. Whether they actually do it, I mean, I don't know.
And do we augment with ambulance service, or is that even a possibility?
At the end of the day, if you just compare this out to other fire districts, it costs more and takes longer. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Sorry. And so I'm like, if it costs more and takes longer, that doesn't totally make sense to me.
So there's potential.
Somebody has figured it out. They're just not here.
Hopefully, I mean, hopefully that the study that we do will show that. So at some point, there's going to be a semi-answer to that. So just where can we fit in what we need with what we have, where we want to go.
With what we can afford.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I think, that's the kind of the big question. What can we afford, or what are we willing to afford to reach that gold star standard, right? We might want this gold star standard, and the willingness of the public might not be there. It might cost us, they're saying numbers like as high as $4.69 per thousand, and just to get to that gold star standard, and the public's going to balk and say, no way, we need to bring that down here to this $2.85 standard, and we need to figure out what we can get with this. So that's kind of where, when we look at service models, how do we get the most bang out of our buck? How do we cover the most area, the most efficient within our price point, that $35 to $40 million price point, and hopefully we can get 8 1/3 stations and cut those response times into a national standard, and we're going to hopefully find all that out as a function of this study.
So one very key question I have for you. I've been in community service, gosh, I don't know, 40 years. And so this is what I worry about. Are all the players willing to, while we're doing this, to have the best interest of the public at heart and do what they can with the shortfall that will get worse over the next 5 years? Or are they going to want to make it as bad as they can so they have something to say to the public, we have an answer? Do they get a feel for the room? Are they willing to keep the best interest of the public at heart?
Didn't really get a conclusive vibe either way, but it seemed like the underlying theme was this is not sustainable in its current form. Something needs to be done, and everybody here understands that what we have currently isn't working.
That's encouraging,
Yeah,
because they care and they want an answer.
Rich, I'll just say, I mean, my feeling is it doesn't look like Gresham's model for delivering the fire services is working very well in comparison to a fire district. But dumping on Gresham at the start of this, when we're all trying to be on the same page, did not seem like a good idea, at least to
No,
me.
it wouldn't be.
So what we want is the numbers to show, and Gresham, along with the rest of us, to see what is going to work better. And that's why this study is being funded by all the cities and the union and the Fire District 10 to make it broad-based, that no one's trying to steer this anywhere, but the numbers are going to show that it isn't going to be either sustainable for Gresham, or that Gresham's model, whatever it is, isn't working very well, and that we should look at some other system. That's just my feeling.
Well,
And
nothing-
that's why we're still on this, we're all on the same page. It isn't meant to be a criticism of anybody, but the numbers are gonna reveal.
There's nothing to be gained by being critical.
Right.
But as long as there's a willingness and an openness for improvement, I think we're good.
I hope so.
Yes, I was wondering, the analysis and study that the group is looking at doing, is part of that going to be looking at the taxpayer-based tolerance for that increase, or is that going to be our work with Praxis moving forward?
Praxis has already done some of that work. And we actually have Praxis on contract currently, but I'm kind of saving that until we actually know where we're going with the fire district before we start running down a public information campaign that may or may not be where we're headed with this thing. I imagine the hope is that through this process, the study reveals what's the best course or path forward for all 4 cities. And then with that information, we're then able to turn around and present it to Praxis to then go poll and find out if it's going to fly or not. And then also follow that up with public education campaign, because I think we have a long road to toe to get this message out and to really educate the populace about what's occurring, not only with our fire districts, but also our tax rates since 1999. So I think that's a big piece of this, is like our tax rates are tagged on a 1999 interest level for inflation, and the world has surpassed us. And so our, rate of return that we're getting is on a decreasing slope, and the interest rates and the cost of living and everything else are going through the roof. So we're kind of going like this right now, and we need to figure out either fix our taxes in Salem or figure out how to put these vital services in their own fire district. So hopefully the study leads us down a path that we can then turn and easily explain to the public in a consumable manner that they can relate to and understand.
I think to Tyler's point, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, you have a lot of people out there that have also not been keeping up with as how fast things have been rising. So you've got, groups here and there that may have seen increases in salary, but the majority of them have not. And their costs keep increasing, they're being squeezed, right? And so that's where it's like, what will the public bear? You were asking if that would be Praxis that would figure that out?
Yeah, I just thought, in a lot of our city committees, we report out on this, and a lot of what I think I've heard and kind of the feeling was, yikes, this is a lot to think about burdening the community with. And so I just wanted to ensure that, that was part of, assessing that part of the process. Yeah.
So we don't go and get shot down.
Right.
I don't know if it's ripe for public consumption, but you look at these numbers and the first numbers coming out of Praxis are like 38% favorability or something. Like, that's not very
It
good.
doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Not looking very promising. So we do have a conundrum growing every year. So anyway.
Victoria?
I was just hoping on that 40 million that Gresham would be more specific about why we don't get as much bang for our buck as other fire districts. I mean, are they spending too much on administrative or whatever? And the other thing is, I want to make sure Troutdale has a backup plan if this all goes. Because one city voted no. And Sandy did not confirm the annexation of Clackamas 1 this time, so they're still working under a contract. So, I don't know, when I got my tax bill, my taxes already went way up this time. There's a lot to think about, but I just want us to have a backup plan. I don't want in 5 years us saying, and starting all over again. So.
It's a very, very good point. And I think that was kind of soft mention while we were there, and some of the discussions were, if 3 cities go and 1 city's left out, then that city would end up having to contract for whatever rate that this group had basically was able to pass, right, per capita, which
That's what we'd have to do.
for us would be a huge, it would, then we'd have to look at like service fees or whatever else to make up for that, which hasn't been very popular, won't be popular. Yeah, I don't know how you fill that gap.
Well, my concern all along is how much can you tax Troutdale where Troutdale residents decide I'm out of here? Because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
Not because they don't want to be here, but because they just can't afford it.
But the other thing to keep in mind is if we tax 285 and Gresham tax at 285, we're paying $1 more. We're paying in essence 385 and they're paying 285 because of the values of our properties. So proportionately, we're paying more.
Because our total assessed value is higher.
Per capita.
And the total assessed value situation out in this region is new to me, but I am kind of finding my way through this, but it is a little mind-boggling the way that this works with the tax offset and some of the things that go along out of measures 5 and 50 from back in the day, and trying to learn a little bit about that. But my question is, with the tax offset, I think Troutdale is at currently like 49, or it was at 53 at one point, but I think every year it's kind of gone down a little bit, and now I want to say we're at like 49 or 50. Is Gresham actually below that? So
49 or 50 what?
percent. So basically you build a new house that's worth $1 million, and your tax offset basically devalues that house, devalues your assessed value to 50% of the new build. So you only get taxed on $500,000 for that new house.
You know, so
$1 million.
what I'm saying is if you look at the population and the tax base that's coming in based on the population. So if you're serving 17,000 people here, right? Based on the tax revenue that you're getting at that rate, it would be basically $1 more per thousand.
But what do we do about that? I mean, there's
Well,
no,
it's been addressed before.
wow, just go ahead.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm listening. Say,
Yeah.
what did you do?
What did I do?
What do you do to fix that? You said it's been addressed before. How did they?
We've addressed it before in fire districts. I'm just saying, I think it's a factor, that's all I'm saying.
So
In fire districts, you mean having different cities have different tax rates in the district?
Yeah, they have an adjusting rate.
I don't know of that. Where? I mean, I don't know of one like this.
that's what my question would be, is like, if I'm trying to understand how it would be different. And I think I understand based off of the offset percentage that I was kind of talking about. If somebody builds a new house in Gresham and maybe the offset to their house of assessed value is 40%, so then instead of it being a $500,000 assessed value, it's a $400,000 assessed value, maybe I could see a little bit of decrease, but is that what we're talking about? Or is it simply?
We're talking about the revenue that you would raise based on the population at that rate.
Because the homes in Gresham, the
No,
assessed value of the homes in Gresham are lower than the assessed value of the homes in Troutdale?
the assessed value of the properties are lower than the assessed value of the properties here.
You're averaging, right?
You mean in like Wood Village and Fairview?
in Gresham.
Well, I mean,
A chunk of that's up here.
like, I don't really understand, but I think like in terms of what we're talking about with this, like we really need more education on, like you said, what we can afford, what that looks like, and how those models like pan out before we can get into like shit like that. Because I mean, to be honest, like I don't even know what model would get us what we want for what we can pay.
Right.
I mean, to me, it's just like we're working on getting the education to us. We don't have the education. All 4 cities really seem to be amenable to figuring that out and acknowledging that we need to do that. This contract is what it is. I think you had a great question because I had the same one. So great minds think alike. I don't think that there's a real good answer to that unless they being Gresham Fire, the city of Gresham, want to put a pop-up station somewhere to help better address that. Hopefully they will. They talked about it, which is more than I've ever heard in the previous 2.5 years that I've been here. So maybe they will. And maybe that will give us a better idea of, hey, this will actually work to help increase our serviceability. But like, I just think until we get any more information on any of these other things, cost-wise, what it's gonna look like in terms of tax rates or whatever, we could all go round and round and round and round.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to go around. I was just trying to say that at the end of the day, we're going to pay more than the others are.
If our per capita assessed value for the city is higher, we always will. That
Yeah.
just is a fact. The hard thing that's being asked is how to convince the voters who in the end have to decide, have to be sold on the idea that higher taxes are good for you. A really tough sell.
Maybe say convince, maybe just say educate, which is a super tough sell.
Yeah.
But I think for this group, like, I told Mike earlier today, but like what Victoria said, I think it's really important that we have a plan B. Like we've discussed a plan B, whatever it looks like it's gonna look awful, but like at least it's been discussed and there's some framework there for, hey, if this doesn't pass, like we're gonna have this astronomical, what is that maybe gonna look like, or maybe what can we do to still provide service? So we've had a lot of talk about this, and we wanna go towards this district, which I see as a need, but if we don't, it's gonna be a disaster. What does that disaster planning kind of look like? And just to keep it in your mind, I don't even know how to start that conversation, to be honest, but like, it's just, we're gonna need to address that.
Well, I think that's fair because as like the consumer, you're like, I would love the pie in the sky, but I have this budget, so I need to understand what that might look like. And it might be ugly, but that's an honest conversation. And
And then I think I think it was maybe the mayor and I, or maybe it was Councilor One and I talking about what happens if we don't have fire coverage, right? Like what happens to our fire insurance, our home insurance, and everything else across the board is then that skyrockets, or you get hit on the other end. What does that look like? Maybe we need to compare what that looks like for the interest of the taxpayer out here. Is it in their monetary interest to have a fire district or to take the tax hit, right? Or the insurance hit, I should say. So I think that's another variable that could be added in. What happens to your house insurance if you don't have 24/7 municipal fire service, and maybe it's a volunteer fire department, like Councilor White was recommending, or something to that effect, like what happens in these scenarios?
yeah, that would be scary. I mean, are there communities we can look at that's happened?
I don't know, Maybe our study will tell us.
Yeah, maybe the study will tell us or something, like, I have just, we're having this conversation with the 4 cities. I have to believe that there's other cities in the same position at the same time. You kind of feel like there's all of this stuff is gonna come crashing down at the same point, and
Oh, yeah, there are lots of failed cities that
Yeah,
we
you know,
look at in the US.
so you don't wanna be that statistic, but at least, I mean, I just wanna, we don't have to like deal with it today or tomorrow, but like, we do need to talk about what does that look like if, you know?
You know, from what Tanny was saying earlier, and the question the mayor was asking, it kind of brings to the importance of what we're doing this, looking at efficiencies too, if we could, right? Because we're trying to say, put yourself in private enterprise, right? If you've got a product and you need to sell it for this price, but the customer is only willing to pay this price, the only way to close that gap is either you just don't do that product anymore, which is our current discussion, or you look for efficiencies to bring your cost to something the customer is willing to pay for the service. And we've got to land this thing pretty much right the first time. There's not a lot of second and third chances within a 5-year period of time. I know I read the contract, I know that we have an ability to extend it if we need to, but that's not pretty either, because we've got these underserved and soon-to-be underserved areas.
And the other thing to remember is this is going up at 7.3% per year, and our tax rates are flat, 3% every year, maybe. So we're already getting further and further behind every year.
I think chance of selling, maybe not the first time or the second time, but eventually selling the public on a fire district is going to require all the cities to be on the same page, saying we've got to do this. The firefighters have to be there with us, supporting it. Even then, it's going to be a tough sell, but that's the only way we're going to do it. So we need to keep moving down the path of trying to work together to come to a solution that works. And I don't know, it's all a little scary, but the backup plan will be always that we can contract for fire services somewhere. If it bankrupts us, of course, it won't work. That's always going to be the backup plan. It's not great. That's why we can't start out thinking we're going to need to do that. Let's.
At the end of the day, it all falls on the general fund, and you've got 20 million, and you just start picking and choosing what you want to do and how you want to do it until you run out of money. I mean,
If every
it's
other
that simple.
sit in the dark, candles. I don't know.
All right, so then we have this other packet, although it's not in our thing here. It's the City of Troutdale Police Department Startup Cost Assessment.
This is my fault.
That's your fault?
Yeah.
This is your
I was
fault.
looking for somebody to blame.
Why is this your fault?
Because I asked for it to come out again.
Okay. So is that something that you want us to review and then we'll talk about next month?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Or, I mean, it's like 4 minutes before we.
No, I think it'd be good to have some time just to go over and think about it, but
Digest it.
it kind of is just, it piggybacks again off what Victoria said earlier, is that we gotta address this. We gotta have a plan, we gotta have a backup plan.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we kind of need a new plan. I mean, in my mind anyway, the plan was going to hinge on us in the May election joining Fire District 1 or fire district and freeing up a chunk of our general fund to start a police department, because we had extended the sheriff's contract for 3 years with that in mind. Well, that isn't the plan anymore as for how to raise the money, so we gotta start thinking in terms of bootstrapping it in a different way, so I will read this with interest.
All right, so let's set the meeting for next month, which is,
Right now, the city council really only has the meeting on December 9th, which would mean we would meet December 8th, which would be before the fire task force meets on the 10th.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. What's the next Monday?
geez.
There-
That would be like January 12th, looks like. Right?
Is that our next one?
If we decided not to have a meeting in December, I guess we
And that pushes,
probably could skip December because we're,
yeah, because the only Monday I could think of, or the 2 Mondays in December is the 8th and the 15th, because the 22nd is Christmas week, and the 29th is Christmas week slash
New Year's week,
right?
yeah.
New Year's week.
And the 15th,
And
15th is the first day of Hanukkah.
yeah, and so,
We can do it during Hanukkah, couldn't
no,
so January, what?
so we can have, well, it's pretty open, so we have the 5th, 12th, 19th, and 26th.
so our first meeting in January is the 13th.
Council meeting, you mean city council?
Yeah. So we do the 12th or the 26th.
What's everybody's calendar?
I would like the
Okay.
12th.
Yeah, let's do the 12th, that sounds
I'm
good.
out of town, so.
Oh, you are? Well, that's not good.
But we need you there.
No. I mean, if you look at it, everybody's been bringing up really good points we have to consider, so kind of like to be firing on all
Join us
cylinders.
via Zoom. See if that's a possibility.
So should we do the 5th or the 9th? 19th, sorry.
If we want to,
19th is Martin Luther King.
Okay.
Yeah,
when is?
that's the 19th.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so it looks like the 5th,
5th of January?
5th of January. Does that work?
I guess.
Twyla?
I'm open.
Victoria?
You're in town, Jeffrey?
Well, I currently work that night, but I'll work on it. I got plenty of time.
Okay, January 5th. Okay.
We all good? Nobody's got conflict on the 5th?
That I know of.
All right.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Okay.